All right, let's get into some fun and talk about divine timing. How many times do we hear people, they get that appointment or they get that ticket to something and it's, oh, divine timing working for me? 100% the universe has your back, 100% that there is this cosmic timing that puts things in place. You plant a seed and there's that divine timing on when it emerges and when it blooms. So there is that that essence of time, but when you have that desire for a reason, then it's time to look at why it's not happening. And if it's not happening because of divine timing, then let's look at that. I want to point out that there is a difference, thinking about a woman who is pregnant and she knows that the baby is on its way. There's a sense of peace, a sense of knowing, a sense of certainty on that. But if you're infertile and it's like, well, divine timing, it'll come when it's ready, this sort of angst that's been triggered is the trigger that needs to be looked at. And so this is what I'm talking about when I explore divine timing, the trigger, the lack of patience, all of that. So let's get into this interesting and dynamic conversation on divine timing. So sometimes people will set the intention and say, okay, I want my business to be successful. I want that pocket of money. How long will it take? And believe me, it will take the exact amount of time it takes for you to come into a vibrational alignment with your manifestation. You can speed up your manifestation by doing the inner work and releasing the resistance, as I've already spoken about. So for me and my belief system around manifestation, it's not about patience, it's about resistance. And there is a big, big, big difference. So if you're feeling the angst, if you're feeling stuck, when is it going to come in? When's the money? And it's not showing up. You're doing all of the other steps. This is not about patience. This is about resistance because we all want plenty of abundance. Thinking about the people who think that you have to put in a lot of hard work to get their abundance. There's a lot of people out there that are working really, really difficult and earn very, very little. And yet there are people working easy and earning a lot. So that kind of collapses that belief. There's also people that believe that you have to create that amazing, phenomenal invention to be the next best thing. And there's some people that are inventing things every single day, and yet they're not the very next thing. So our beliefs, this stuckness, this resistance, this is what's getting in the way of our manifestation. Abundance is available to us. However, as children, we take on limiting beliefs such as I can't afford it, can't have what I want. And all of this is coming from our parents' story. So as a grown-up, we logically know in this now moment that we can pretty much have what we want. With access, with going to the banks or looking at your savings or borrowing money from a friend, you could pretty much have what you want. And yet our unconscious mind holds on tight to the old stories, the old narratives that, can't have what I want, I can't afford it. And it's that old story that creates that reality that we're experiencing that resistance to money. Because there's no amount of waiting like a good child to get what you want, or even having that tantrum to make it happen quicker. I know when I'm clearing people's money blocks in a one-on-one session, like the most amazing, bizarre experiences as a child can stop people from having money in this particular time. Thinking about a client who remembered going through the checkout and mum's having to put items back and having to watch every single cent. She learnt that having less money, asking for less, meant less embarrassment. So she didn't ask for what she wanted. She was holding on to that limitation like it's an embarrassment to ask for what you want. And the thing is, once we actually undid that she had taken on her mum's embarrassment, she's a child. She doesn't really, like there's no meaning to that moment until she takes on a meaning. And so when you actually undo that, that particular client manifested in over six figures very, very, very quickly after that because she took on the new belief that it was safe to have what she wanted, that she could invite in what she wanted, she could choose which shops that she wanted to shop in. So very, very different perspective of reality after we move that. So don't wait for divine timing. It's all about identifying those old, outdated programs that keeps you small, stressed, and resist in that sense of resistance. Like that client, You know, she could have spent her entire life being embarrassed about asking for what she want. Would be quite a sort of a challenging life. I imagine that would create all sorts of health problems and suppression, probably things like asthma and anything that spine problems that would keep herself small, possibly migraines and headaches, anything there that stopped her from living out that belief that, like, yeah, it's embarrassing to ask for what you want. So when you are comfortable to take down your walls and your barriers and work through that resistance, your manifestations will show up really, really easily. So the more that you do the inner work, the quicker, more easier the next manifestation will come in and the next manifestation will come in. So the more that you've built that muscle and that note and the awareness of those triggers, is like, okay, shift. So I know for myself when I started to do this kind of work that it would be like a whole heavy 3 or 4 or 5 sessions with a healer to go and peel back the onion layers. And now if I notice something coming in, it's like, gotcha. And in a moment, I can move it, but it's the awareness of what's going on that's 80% of the problem solved. So this particular slide is here for a reason because I want to point out to you, you know, I had a client the other day wanted to go to Joe Dispenza, and while we were talking, she was like, "Well, if there's a ticket there, it's meant to be. Like it's divine timing if the ticket's there." And I was like, "Wait a minute, backtrack a little bit. Please recognize that the work that we had been doing to clear away the limiting beliefs, to put ourselves first, was the reward. The divine timing showed up as the reward, but it wasn't divine timing of, you know, like there's some sort of blueprint outside of me that meant that that was meant to be. It was evidence that the work that she had been putting in place was the reward. There, you know, a lot of times they're going off track here, but a lot of times people come to me like, Claire, help me connect to my spirit guides, help me connect to that higher power that knows the path that I'm supposed to be on. And it's quite interesting because the dilemma with this is that your guides are like waiting, standing back with clipboards, waiting to find out what do you want. You've got a multitude of different timelines at any one point, at different times of bubbles of reality that you can choose to move down. And the guides are waiting for you to make that decision. You make that decision that you want that particular car, they're going to put in place, like a chessboard, things in place. But if you don't make that decision, they cannot, by galactic kind of laws, they cannot interfere with your free will. So they're not going to push for you to do what you need to do. They're waiting for you to the other way around. The power is in you. That's again like what Gabrielle Bernstein's like. The universe has your back. You need to choose what you want, and the universe will support and encourage that. As a kind of a bit of a joke that kind of comes to mind on my particular wedding day, marrying my ex, the limo broke down. I was like, there's a sign like stop, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. But at no point in time did the guides actually like create some sort of catastrophe that I couldn't stop marrying that person. Like the free will was still in my hands. And for whatever reason, that limiting belief about commitment and loyalty, the wedding was organized, deposits were paid, I may as well go through with it. So the guides didn't put anything in place to like collapse that chapel that day. I still had free will. I still had the ability to either listen to my intuition or listen to my ego. And this is what I want to make a really strong point about is when people are starting to do that spiritual awakening work and waiting for the blueprint, the power is in your hands, not some power outside of yourself. Hope that makes sense. Anyway, I've gone off track because it's completely not divine timing. Okay, so check in with yourself because you got the impulse and the desire for a reason. What can you do to achieve that desire or allow something better to come in? Again, that invitation to the universe, how can it get any better? And to start letting yourself have permission to know what you want, to get all of that energy to back you up. I hope that helps, guys. Fun chat today. I will talk to you later.